So I want to say I'm one of the new members to MWA. I've been there for several meetings recently, but because everybody's sheltering in place, we've missed a couple. And I just had planned on sharing something recently at the meeting, and it got canceled. So I thought I'd do this with my daughter, who's home helping me because she's home from college for the semester. So having said that, we'll get into it. I built a cabinet for storing my hand tools, and as part of that I made doors to keep the dust out, and these are a raised panel door, and I want to talk about how I made that and also about the drawers and the design there and my thoughts on that. So having said that, this raised panel I'm able to make entirely on the table saw, and I think it's really important for, at least for me, to get a really good fit up is to do a mock-up prior to actually cutting the finished product. And this is one that I keep on the shelf from a previous time that I've done it, and it helps me get tuned up for this. So big picture, you make your blank, right, out of 3/4, in my case, wood in a slab, size enough for your panel, and then you basically decide how far you want this first panel, this top panel, to be in. You cut a groove that's 1/8 inch, and the way you do that is you just set your table saw depth for 1/8. Set your, on this I said 1 3/4 is the distance here between the top of this arch on the panel and the edge, and then you just take your 1/8 and you measure it off, or I'm sorry, you measure it off, then you run it over your table saw off your fence at 1 3/4, and you'll have the 4 cuts through here. Then you set your table saw to the depth, to the thickness for your fence that you want this edge to be. In my case, it's 1/4 to match my groove. And then you tilt the saw until the tip of that comes out where that groove was that you made, that 1/8 inch. And you have to do that by sighting down the blade once you set it up on the table, and you've got it set at 1/4 inch off the fence. And you can see where that tip will just extend past where you've made that groove. And you run that through 4 times. And what you end up with is the slopes. And then to cut the recess, you decide how deep you want these pockets to be. And you set that to 1/4 inch, and you run that, and you'll get your blank. So just a word of caution, make sure you use a tall fence when you do this. Otherwise, if you have a taller panel, it can tilt on you, right? And we don't want to be doing that over a running blade. So once you have that, I use a dado blade. All this can be done with a single blade, but all of this can definitely be done on a table saw. So you make your rail and your stile, and like I said, I always set these up and do a test run with some scrap, and that way you know that you're going to get a good fit and that you got good alignment here between your gap, your inset, which is set at 1/4, and then you set your piece in. And you made your raised panel. Now this is all proud. You could, with some fidgeting, you could back cut this and actually bring that so that the panel is more flush. But ultimately, this is all cut on a table saw, and I'm really pleased with it for shop furniture. I'm very happy with it. One thing I like is European hinges. What I really like about them is they got the clips on them, so they're easy on, easy off. So if you want to do a demonstration at a woodworking club, you can take one off and take it with you. I don't know what else you take them off for, but these are really easy to adjust up and down, in and out, to get just the right fit. So I really like them. And then you put a knob on it. Wanted to talk quickly. The drawers are solid wood, and big picture, these are set up with I use my dado blade again and just do a recess here that's 3/4 and half the distance, so half the thickness here, so it's 3/8. And so I make cuts here on the front. And what's nice about that, that allows you to control very precisely the dimensions of your drawer. So if you're going in a cabinet and you want to have it be 1/16 under, so let's say you got a 15-inch opening and you want 14 and 15/16, this piece you cut to 14 and 15/16, which is really easy to do. This piece you cut there, and this is just going to cover your how deep your drawer is. You put it together. Something I do that's unusual, but I think it's very effective, is I have the bottom flush. Now most people would have it where it insets, so it's supported here. But given the weight, the glue adds more than enough strength. It lasts the lifetime of this cabinet plus some, and it works very well. And it gives you a little extra depth that you would lose if you had to cut that recess in there. Now obviously if you wanted to build something that needed a lot of strength, you could cut the grooves up above so that you'd actually have it inset into the wood, and that'd give you that extra strength. But like I said, I've never had a problem with doing this, and it gives you that extra room and works out really well. The last piece I want to talk about real quickly is by doing this groove is half the thickness of the 3/4, and obviously if you did 1/2 inch you do 1/4, but the groove, and then I use a wood runner for these, and then it's just a lot cheaper, and it's very it works very well. Use a different material wood than the wood the solid wood. The interaction between the wood, this will last a lot longer, and learned that from Mark Adams. Many of you know who he is. So the piece I wanted to say here is by you put this groove in this piece, and on this piece you can run it full length. You're going to have to open up a gap in the back for this one. That's the tricky piece. You're going to have to hand cut out and chisel. But then this one acts as a stop, so when you put this on your cabinet and your cabinet comes up to it, right, that's going to allow you, by setting where this is in the cabinet, exactly where that drawer will stop. So you can move it back, get exactly the inset you want. You can get real consistent results for all your drawers so that they're all nice and flush. It makes it really easy. And this is always going to be 3/8, and you can make that measurement. So I don't know, this may be stuff that everyone knows. Like I said, when I make shop cabinets, I like putting together some of the items that we learn and we talk about. So if you got any questions, let me know. I hope everybody's doing well, stays healthy, and hopefully we'll be out of this COVID-19 concern shortly, and we'll be back together again. I wish you well.